Welcome everyone, glad you're here. As for today's figure review, we'll be looking at Stormarena's Kenmasters from the Street Fighter Alpha 3. Now this is actually a first release by Stormarena, which is a company that will mainly focus on 112 figures. Now as for a start, here's the front of the box. At the top here, we have the newly logo by Stormarena. And here we have a window for the figure. At the bottom left here, we have the logo for the Street Fighter Alpha 3. Then this is actually elevated. You can kind of feel this. Kind of reminds me like a sticker. At the right here, we have the Ken's profile. And at the bottom, we have the guard power gauge or the guard meter, which is set to level 3. And the ism here is a fighting style, which is set to A, which is a standard. Now at the top, we have the logo for the Street Fighter Alpha 3 and another logo for Stormarena and Capcom. At both sides, we have the same. We have Street Fighter and Ken here and Ken's profile. Again, the logo. And at the same side, again. At the bottom, we have some warnings. And at the back, we have the same logo and a new profile for Ken here. And at the middle, we have some various poses done by the figure. And here we have Winner and Ken and Street Fighter and Alpha 3 logo. And here we have Stormcollectibles, the parent company, and some labeling. And here it is, an important part, which is age 17 and up. So, without further ado, let's open this figure up. Alright, now that he's out of the box, let's actually start with some of his accessories because there's only like a decent amount of them. So to start off, here's actually a cardboard cutout of Ken's stage, which can act as a backdrop for your figure, like so. Very nice. The next accessory, we actually have the new stand that comes with it. Here's the base of the stand, and here's the arm, and there's a peg below, so you can actually insert it to any of the holes in there, like so. And the next we have the hinge that comes with it. You can go up and down, and there's actually a screw in here, so you can tighten that up whenever it gets loose, and you can insert it on the arm like so at the top. And lastly, we have the two variation of the claw. We have a plastic one and a metal one. Sadly, the metal one has like paint chipping in there. I don't know if you can see that. So and it can actually rub off on my fingers. So I don't know if I'll actually use this one because it might rub off on the figure. So I'll probably be safe to just use the plastic one instead. So to insert it, you just insert it here in the hinge, like so. And whenever it goes down, the claw just closes up. So, basic, pretty much a basic stand, and a new stand for like 112 figures. Pretty great. I like it. As for the last amount of accessories, we actually have Ken's accessories. So to start off, here's the fisted hands and neutral face on the figure. Very nice. Next we have some interchangeable hands. Here's the Hadouken hands. Next we have his taunting hand or his come on hand. And all of these interchangeable hands are actually rubbery, so you can move his fingers and all that. And next we have his peace sign hands. And the next interchangeable head, we have this smirking face. Very nice. And the only effect on the figure, we have this Shoryuken flames, which you can peg on the fisted hands, like so. And it will stay there nice and secure. Very nice. I really like the effect on this one. So yeah, those are the accessories for the figure. So let's move on. For his articulation, but before we begin, we do have to remove his gi so you can see a better range of motion on his upper torso, shoulders, and his butterfly joints. So let's do that. So in order to remove his gi, we have to start with his belt. You can remove this tie up in his belt, as so. And his belt is actually made out of rubber, so it's quite easy to remove it, and it's quite stretchable. As I say that, and I'm having a hard time removing it. But it is like a button, so it stays there. So there's the belt. As for the gi, same principle, just have to remove it. And it is on this like peg, so it actually stays there. So let's remove the hands and the head so we can have an ease of time when removing his gi. So just stretch it out backwards. So that's it for removing his gi. Sorry, it's quite easy. And I'll show you how to put it back in after the articulation. So let's get back with his articulation. Okay, now that we remove his gi, let's start with his articulation, beginning with the head. His head can move up this much. It is being blocked by his rubbery hair. It can move down that much. It can tilt from side to side. Can rotate, and it is on a double ball joint, and this is what it looks like underneath the headpiece. Very nice. His upper torso can arc about that much, but it does leave a gap, and he can ab crunch about that much. Very nice, and no gappage much on the back. But combined with the lower torso, he can arc back very nicely, and he can ab crunch the same level as well. So very nice. It does have a butterfly joint. Can raise his arms, but more than a T pose, or it has a bicep swivel, a double jointed elbow, a wrist on the hands. This is what it looks like. Very nice. Can also rotate. Very nice. As for his legs can move about up that much, but it does have a drop down mechanic, and it does have a thigh swivel, and it does have a line in here on the side. You can see that, so you do know where the origin point on where the rotation on the thigh swivel is. So that's very cool. It does have double jointed knees. A hinge on the foot. And it does rotate on the upper foot. So that's very nice. Acts as a like boot swivel. A ankle rocker. A very nice ankle rocker. And a toe pivot. So overall, the articulation on this guy is very nice and very superb. So let's move on. Oh, and I also forgot that his legs can move backwards about that much, and that's with the help of the drop down mechanic and his very rubbery butt. So there's tons of range there when moving his legs backwards, so that's very good. And this is how it looks like when performing his butterfly joints forward. So he really has no problem when performing his Hadouken moves, and that's because his chest is actually made out of rubber, very in line with like Storm Collectible figures, but this time with 112 figures. So yeah, that's very good. Now in order to put back his gi, let's remove the hands and his head first, so we can have an easy time putting it back on. And the wristbands are actually removable, so that's very cool. And let's set his arms backwards. So this is like the most easiest way to put it. So let's start with the gi first. Same way you would put like any jacket on. And don't be afraid to stretch it out because it is made out of rubber, and it will return to its formation like so. So that's very cool. And here's what the peg actually looks like. So let's put it back on the left side of the gi. Like that. And let's insert the right side of the gi in this peg. Like that. Very easy. Now for the belt. Let's insert the belt here first. And just rotate it on his waist around. And just like button it up on the peg like that. And the last one is the tie. Very easy. And that's how you put back his gi on. Very easy. So don't be afraid to stretch it out. It is made out of rubber, so no harm on putting it back on and removing it. That's very cool. Oh, and last bit of articulation before I forget, his splits. Very, very nice. Now it's time for some size comparisons, but like always, before I compare him to some of my other figures, I'd like to compare him to some common items, just so you can have like a general sense on how he scales compared to these items. So, as for a start, here is a marker and a Santa Claus ball pen. Here is a spoon and a fork. Here is a water bottle and a PlayStation 5 controller. And last but not least, here is an egg. Alright, let's get to the other figures. Now comparing them to some of my other figures, let's start with some DC characters. So to start off, here is my Gong Studios and Pop Mart's Superman and Shazam. The next we have Mafex Dark Knight Returns Batman and Mezco Darkseid. Next we have some Marvel characters. So here's CT Toys Tiger Stripe Wolverine and Brown Suit Wolverine. And next we have some CT Toys Classic Suit Spider-Man and Black Suit Spider-Man. And last of my Marvel figures, here's Mesh Toys Black Suit Neighbor, or pretty much Black Suit Spider-Man. And both my Marvel Legends Black Suit Spider-Man and Classic She-Hulk. And moving on, we have some anime-esque type figures, or pretty much any anime-looking type figures. To start off, here's both my Storm Collectibles Yujiro Hanma and Baki Hanma. The next we have some custom figures. Here's my Wanderer Anime Girl on an 86 Toys blank body figure, and my custom Bison Body Android 18. The next we have the Forger family from Spy X Family from SH Figuarts. Here's Your Forger. Here's Your. And here's Anya. Oh, and an Armor Girls Project, Charlotte Dunois. And the next we have some of my smallest figures. Here's the Hollow Myth group from Hololive on their small version, consisting of Callie, Ina, Ame, Gura, and Kiara. And last but not least, here's my remaining Street Fighter characters. We have SH Figuarts Sakura Kasugano, Jada Toys Kemi, and both my 1/6 scale Starman Kemi and Chun-Li. Alright, overall a solid first release by Stormarena on their 112 figure line. I really hope that they continue with the Street Fighter Alpha 3 characters because there's a ton of them, and hopefully Stormarena, I hope that you finish with this line, that you complete all the characters, pretty much just like what Jada Toys is doing. I'm pretty sure that they're finishing their their roster with their characters. I mean, they even have like alternate colors with their Street Fighter characters. And I hope that the Baki line as well, that the 112 Baki line, I hope that they finish that as well. I know that Baki, Yujiro, and I think Hanayama are gonna be released next. So yeah, again, a solid Ken figure here. Great articulation. I really like the appearance of Ken here, especially how much detail that they put on a figure like this, on a scale like this. You really can't go wrong. They really put a lot of effort on how he looks. They really tried to nail how he looked in the game and bringing it to the 112 figure line. I really have like some minor QC issues on my figure. I hopefully that's only on my copy of the figure. I thought that it was gonna be like buttery smooth with how he moves, but some of his like joints, especially here with the biceps, like it tends to squeak, or it's really tight. And especially with his like left leg here, when I first got him out of the box, he didn't really have this like squeaking noise. So hopefully that's just on my figure. And a precaution about this, guys, I was posing Ken here and his belt actually snapped on me. Here, let me show you, like here, hopefully you can see that actually snapped on me, and I had to like super glue it. Well, now he's okay right now, so hopefully it doesn't break like anytime soon. But as a precaution, just don't leave him on a extreme dynamic pose, like especially with how I thought that the rubber on the belt and the gi was gonna last, but it break on me because he was performing a dynamic pose on long periods of time. So yeah, as a precaution, just don't leave him on a really dynamic pose, just so you won't have this problem. But yeah, again, with the squeaky noise, that's only like a nitpick, to be honest. I really have no problem with it. I mean, other than that, his other joints are really buttery smooth. I hear that the Ryu figure don't have this like squeaking noise, so I hope that when I receive that figure that I won't have that problem. But yeah, they really improved on this line, because here, let me show you. This is my Baki Hama from stormcollectibles. I put shock oil on him, but still, even after I'm putting shock oil on him, he still has like squeaking noise on his joints whenever I move it. So yeah, they really improved on the Stormarena line. So yeah, keep it up, Stormarena. I hope the future figures have the same improvement, and I hope that they have the same well thought out detail on them, like Ken here. And I hope that this actually succeed, and I hope that Stormarena actually finishes the line, especially with the Street Fighter Alpha 3 characters. And maybe after they finish all the characters, and with the Baki characters, that they continue with other series as well. So yeah, that's it for the review, guys. I hope that you found this review informative, and I hope that you get your your own Stormarena lines, because this figure is really worth it. So yeah, be good, guys. Happy collecting. See ya.